Hi, this is Dr. Alice Lee, a holistic psychiatrist from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Welcome to my blog post series called Stories from Wonderland. In these blogs, I want to share true stories from both my personal life and from my work as a holistic psychiatrist. I hope that they will be interesting, fun, and enlightening, giving you a taste of what it's like to be in my shoes. Today's story is on the nature of good and evil. You can read about it under the Insight section of my website, published on October the 2nd, 2018, called Angels, Demons, a Boy and a Psychiatrist. It was both the most frightening and the most sublime session I ever had with a patient. I will never forget it, though it happened nearly 2 decades ago. Paul was a 15-year-old with dark brown hair and large brown eyes who suffered from depression. He had already made 3 prior suicide attempts, one of them in an inpatient psychiatric ward. His parents wanted me to work with him, not because of my exceptional skills as a psychiatrist, but because they wanted someone who was familiar with their family's religion. They knew that I had the same religious background as they did. My initial evaluation, however, caused me some alarm. During the evaluation, as Paul was expressing how much he hated God and religion, a ghostly, gaunt male face popped out from Paul's face. It had a stern expression and was staring straight at me, looking like the floating head of the Wizard of Oz that had tried to frighten Dorothy. I was spooked and began to pray in my mind to protect me from this ghost that had just popped out from Paul's face. After the session, my phone call with Paul's parents didn't help me feel any better. They shared their concern that Paul might be possessed by evil spirits at times. I was tempted to quit before starting. When I prayed about the matter, however, a comforting feeling came over me, as if to say, "Don't be afraid, everything is going to be all right." So I pressed forward. My work with Paul happened about a year before I became interested in holistic medicine, so he was treated with Prozac and individual psychotherapy. To my surprise, treatment unfolded in a common fashion, session after session. One day, as we talked about different issues over a game of cards, Paul once again began to talk about his hatred of God and religion. He shared that at times he would allow 3 demons to possess him. As soon as he said this, his eyes glazed over and he said in a dry, half-dead voice, "They are here." Something like that. I'm just pretending I'm Paul. Immediately, I felt the hair on the back of my neck rise, just like in a novel. I remember feeling surprised by that unique feeling because I never felt the hair on the back of my neck rise before. Simultaneously, foreign feelings and thoughts intruded into my mind, conveying an intense desire to destroy, control, and frighten me. And boy, was it working. In reaction to the sudden change of events, I immediately started praying inside my head, asking for God's help and protection. As soon as I did that, the intrusive thoughts and feelings left me, and I felt as if I was filled and surrounded by a warm golden light. Paul continued to talk in his half-dead, flat voice. In fact, his whole face looked different when he was possessed, like he was older and half-dead. He expressed how he hated God because God didn't give people enough freedom. God just wanted to control everyone and have everyone worship him. I found myself responding, "Freedom is a tool that God uses to help people to grow. As we learn to make proper choices with the freedom we're given, God lets us have more freedom. Just like a parent wouldn't give a baby a chainsaw, but rather a variety of toys to choose from, God lets us play with freedom safely. When we go to a shoe store, you'll find sneakers, sandals, boots, and many other styles of shoes to choose from, but you wouldn't find moon boots because it's not likely that you'll be going to the moon. It's like that with choices in life. You're given a variety of choices that we need, not choices that we don't need." After I said that, I realized I had never thought of freedom in that way before. The words flowed from me, filled with wisdom and compassion. I was learning just as much about freedom as Paul was. Not to be deterred, however, Paul described what he considered to be God's personality flaws. God was arrogant, selfish, controlling, and narcissistic. After he finished criticizing God, I said, "That's good that you don't like those qualities, but if you just substituted the word Satan for God, you would have it right." I was surprised by my quick response. Personally, I have never been good at delivering quick repartees. My response must have come from the light that was inspiring me through this whole ordeal. After about 15 to 20 minutes, an expression of disgust crossed Paul's face, as if the demons were disgusted at their inability to affect me. Instead, they were being lectured. Where was the fun in that? So they left, and Paul's voice and face changed back to himself. Soon after, the session concluded. After the session, I felt enlightened. I realized that the demons spoke of God as a fact of life. They never questioned God's existence. They just didn't like God. In comparison to their knowledge, my knowledge of God seemed vague and faith-driven. I believed and had faith in God, but I didn't know that God existed. Their certainty reinforced the reality of God for me. I also knew that I'd been protected. I felt that beings of light had come to my aid. In a way, I'd been possessed by their presence within and around me. It felt peaceful and loving. Paul never returned for another session. Circumstances unfolded in his family that led them to stop treatment, and it seemed like the right turn of events for me. My session with Paul taught me some important spiritual principles about the nature of good and evil. From then on, I knew that evil had three goals: to destroy, control, and incite fear in others. I also learned that goodness was a power filled with peace, love, and wisdom, and that I could trust in this power to shield and inspire me. I hope that this story will add to your knowledge of good and evil and support you when you encounter evil as you work to bring greater goodness into the world. Thanks for listening, and I hope to share more stories with you next week. And I hope that you will subscribe to my newsletter and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks and have a great week.